The Supreme Court has been and will be on a real conservative tear. I mean, even in advance of getting rid of Roe v. Wade and possibly shredding the ability of the EPA to regulate the environment and destroying New York's gun laws, and there's other abortion cases coming, they now have this. Earlier this week, they effectively gutted constitutional protections that for years have provided a federal out for those who at the state level believe that they did not get the legal counsel that they were deserved, that evidence wasn't seen, that they were failed by the legal system. This allowed them to appeal to another level to potentially have justice be served. Well, that is done. They're getting rid of that. It's a 6-3 ruling. I will allow you to have the fun game of guessing which is the 6 and which is the 3. Anyway, in it, the right-wing majority of the nation's highest court barred federal courts from hearing new evidence that was not previously presented in a state court as a result of the defendant's ineffective legal representation. The decision means that prisoners will no longer have recourse to federal judges, even when they claim they were wrongfully convicted because their lawyers failed to conduct their cases properly. So this is specifically Shin versus Ramirez and Jones. The decision by the SCOTUS was authored by Associate Justice Clarence Thomas, and they denied the petitions of 2 death row inmates in Arizona. So they said that their attorneys had failed them at trial. They said that as a result of that, their 6th Amendment rights to due process and habeas corpus were violated. Thomas says that because their appeals were denied at the state level, they have no legal standing to sue federally, which, look, I'm not the expert. We can bring in Adrian Lawrence, to me means literally nothing. It has been a long established course that you could appeal to the next level, to the federal level for this, and they've just decided no. So all of this sounds bad, JR. The one silver lining is that this is going to affect everyone economically the same, because everyone, the richest people in the world who have legal teams of dozens of people and someone who literally is being represented by the state pro bono, have the same likelihood of being utterly failed by their lawyers. So I have no fear about inequality or anything like that.
I feel like it's kind of already been that way, but this is just really ramping it up. So then after you then discover, or it has been proven outright that your representation wasn't representing you, or that in many cases we see in prosecution flub or just come up with false evidence or ignore things that would exonerate the victim, the defendant, all these types of things that once it's discovered, many people have been exonerated later. Many people that were put on death row were try to get them off, or after they've been killed, then we discover later, oh, my bad, he didn't do it. Those types of things, because of the incompetence many times of their representation, it just ends all that. Again, like you point out, does this go across the board? Donald Trump had issue with the vote count in Arizona, Pennsylvania, 4 or 5 other states, right? He appealed it, and they keep appealing it, and he keeps saying, we're gonna take this to the Supreme Court. Which cases do we allow to continue to appeal out of the state and up to federal? I don't know. Again, like you said, maybe we need Adrian Lawrence. She is in the house. I saw her earlier. Maybe we can ask her later and find out exactly what it is that who has recourse, and is it just people with money?
Yeah, well, look, I will say, if I could get just a little bit more sarcasm in, there's been this thing in the justice system, especially over the past couple of decades, that people who will be on death row for something will appeal. People will pick up their case and then present new evidence, and it shows that they shouldn't be there, and they get exonerated. And that makes people really uncomfortable, because think about that. If that hadn't happened, we would have had direct proof that we're executing innocent people. So I think that needs to be fixed by not having it revealed that we execute innocent people, and we just go back to executing innocent people. That would make me, or at least people like me, very comfortable. And so I think that Clarence Thomas is doing a social good in pushing for that. No, that literally is what this is. They know about these injustices. They know that there are incredibly unequal outcomes based on how much resources you have for your legal defense. And rather than fixing that, they are simply going to cover it up effectively by cutting off your legal recourse after a certain point. They're doing it 6-3. They know that this is insane. This is yet another thing where they are effectively just jettisoning decades of the way that things are supposed to work. But they have the 6 rather than the 3, so they get to win. And you can add this to an ever increasing number of decisions that will increase for literally years, no matter how hard we fight. We have to fight so that it's just years and years rather than decades. of why the Supreme Court matters so much, why who won the 2016 election was obviously so critical. People will find themselves completely unable to appeal what is happening to them. Knowing that exonerating evidence exists, they will spend years, decades, the rest of their life, possibly a shorter life because they might be killed by the state, because Donald Trump won in 2016 and so he got to choose people for the Supreme Court and they did this thing that they're doing right now. That's how power works in practice. Don't let anyone delude you about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, there's not much more to say than that. It's exactly what it is that's happening, and they don't really care. Again, because who has the power can just say no, and we're just supposed to move on, because that's why they need the power. It's kind of becomes absolute, and the only person who can change it is those in power who did everything they could to make sure they don't have to change it.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.